Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Coaxum Report. I'm Terry Coaxum. I'm your host today, and you can catch us. You can listen to us on WSTX Bloomberg. You can catch us on We're on the marketplace. We are on Roku, on Amazon Fire, on Android, and I am super excited to have Dr. Sam on my show today, and she'll be talking about mental wealth. And so I'm super excited because one, she's tuning in from South Africa, and there's like a
Yeah.
6 hour time difference. And so it's super amazing to have her on this show. So again, you can join us on Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, www.ourtv.network. I encourage you to download our app so that you can listen to this segment again later. And Dr. Sam, thank you so much for joining me on a Coaxum Report today. How are you?
Hi, Terry. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to have conversations with you. And yes, all the way from South Africa, and it's 8:30 p.m. in
Oh,
the evening.
wow. So
Yeah,
that must mean that this segment is truly important for you to be coming on at this time of the hour. So I truly am
definitely.
blessed. I'm truly am blessed by that. It's truly an honor to have you on because you and I both know that health is wealth and wealth is health. And
Yeah.
so, I had a mentor say one time that all the money in the world, if you didn't have good health, then you didn't have much, and vice versa. So, I want to talk to you a little bit about your book. I know this is going to be the second edition that you're doing on the book. I had an opportunity to go on. I know that you're in like an author's platform, so I was able to get order a copy of the book there. And so, just want to tell my listening audience a little bit about your book, a little bit about who you are, and so we can dig right on in so we can offer some solutions to some of the things that my listeners
Mm.
are asking about. So, talk to me a little bit about who you are and your book, of course.
So I'm Dr. Sam. I'm a medical professional who is focused in mental health. I'm based in South Africa, Johannesburg. So my work predominantly looks at the mental well-being of a person.
Mhm.
And initially, in the earlier years of my work, I really was focusing on corporate wellness, employee wellness, but focusing on the mental aspect of a human being.
So
And I
mental,
think
let's pause right there. Mental aspect of a human being. Let's pause right there. Let's play your video and let's get right back into talking about what the mental aspect of a human being really means. Let's play your video.
Good
thank
evening,
you.
ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dr. Sam. We live in a world filled with so much information. We live in times where information, knowledge is in so much abundance. We have so many choices to make. We have so many decisions to make. We have so many options that are available to us. And sometimes this abundance and overflow of knowledge, of options, of choices has given rise to some form of anxiety. It has given rise to some form of feeling the pressure and the demand to be a certain type of person. It has given rise to what some of us could purely understand as mental illness. It has given rise or compromised our mental health. We have learned to live with so many voices, with so much information, so much knowledge, that we never really know what it is that we need to focus on. We've created a world where we struggle to silence the voices that no longer serve us. We struggle to reject, the information that doesn't serve us. I have written a book called Mental Wealth. It is through my reflection that by design we are created as human beings with resources that enable us to silence, to shut down, and to change the things that no longer serve us. Mental wealth is realizing that we've got attributes in us created by God, the Creator, so that we are able to live in a world filled with so many things, but be able to make the choices that will be productive, progressive, and enable us to become people who dominate, subdue, and become successors in the earth. Mental wealth is not just a book. It's a product, it's a service, it's an experience, it's a journey. It's a way of me saying, how can I be of service to you as we walk and journey through the earth together? It's a call really to say, what is it that you have that can contribute to making this world a better place? What is it that already is in you? What are the experiences? What are the resources? What is the knowledge? What is your exposure? What's your environment that's different to mine that will help you shape the way you think, shape your behavior so that we produce results that will impact this world in the positive? Mental wealth is a way of us accumulating resources. We accumulate knowledge, we accumulate experiences, and we become fully conscious and intentional when we experience things, when we venture into projects, and when we become communicators with other people. Mental wealth in the marketplace is such a crucial area where most of our mental health problems may be seen. This is because the marketplace is a place of exchange. It's a battlefield. It's a place where everyone comes and contends to show forth what they already possess in them. Whether it's skills, it's knowledge, it's degrees, it's exposure, it's talents, it's businesses. So we need to stand together and say, what is it that I have? What is the mental tenacity that I possess that will make me productive and make a change in the marketplace, and make a change in the relationships I'm part of, and make a change in the world which I exist in? In this project called Mental Wealth, I'm inviting you into a journey of exploring and reflection. A journey where you realize that you're not just a human being in a body. You're a spirit, you have a soul, and you walk the earth with your body, but informed by your spirit and your soul. And the way you invest in it, and you ensure that the resources that you already have, your personality, the way you think, the exposures that you have that position you differently to someone else, are the very resources of wealth that you need to present to make this place a better place, to make this world a better place.
Wow, that was amazing. That was truly amazing. And when we took a little break, we talked about mental wellness of human beings. So we talked about a holistic approach and an entire person, your mind, your body, your spirit. And you went into it a
Definitely.
little bit in that video where you explained some of the barriers, some of technology exists, and so there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of different distractions, so to speak, in our lives. And so one of the things I like to do, Dr. Sam, on this show, the Coaxum Report, is I have a lot of businesses listening in. And so I offer them every week. I offer them, we bring on guests and we talk about barriers. We talk about the best practices and the big ideas. And I think here the big idea is that, there is a holistic approach. There is an entire being that we're talking
Mm,
about. And so I'm going to get a little bit into the barriers that we're facing, whether it's that, constant noise. In the video, you showed a lot of different distractions, and then how do we come up with some things to make sure that we are prepared, number one. It's always about preparation, right? But that we also have the tools and the skill set to be able to move forward. Mental health is a huge piece. I also wrote a book called Peaceful Pondering: A Busy Woman's Guide to Inner Peace. And one of the things that I talked about in that book is there's no turn off button. You don't need to turn off
Mm,
anymore. And one thing that the health crisis did in COVID is that it actually amplified the no turn off button.
yeah,
So folks are actually now doing work out of their homes, and they're preparing dinner and cleaning their house and on a Zoom call or on a Microsoft Teams call, and there's a constant go 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 button. But I
yeah.
want you to talk about what are some of the tools that we can put in place so that we can integrate. Again, there is no balance. There is something that's
Mhm,
going to take precedent over something else, and I talk about this in my book. But I know, getting a little deeper into it, how do we integrate all of these things into our lives and become that whole human being that you talked
mhm,
about? And how do we get the tools and tips that we need to be able to flourish, to thrive, and to use technology for our best selves, to show up as our authentic selves? So talk to me, Dr. Sam. We need all these tools and tips.
So I think it's really dependent on each environment and each working environment, each person, and we need to be cognizant of that before
Right.
releasing a holistic approach, which
Mhm.
cannot work for everyone, but
No, no
should
cookie
be
cutters.
modified for each environment and each person. What
Hmm.
I had seen in South Africa is that the high end people, that would be your CEO, your executives, are people who really have or carry a huge burden. They have the company on their shoulders, their wives, their husbands, and already their thinking process is a process of keep going, keep going.
Hmm.
But then you
Yeah,
realize that it's not only a culture that's within the corporate space, even at home, you start having the same mindset that you carry everywhere because it has to keep you going
that's
as
right.
that person who's functioning in corporate. So, how do we then change this thing? We change the whole culture. In corporate, we speak so much about creating cultures which will enable people to have rest, to have integration. Like you said, there's no balance, but we need to find coexistence. We
That's
need to find ways that are going to work for certain type of people. For
mhm.
example, if someone has just had a child and you want that person to reintegrate back to work, we forget about the mental tenacity, resilience that's required from a woman who's leaving a baby at home and coming to a high contending marketplace. What are
Mhm.
the measures that need to be put in place for that particular person? What are the measures that need to be put in place for someone who's just had a divorce? We say it so easily that people need to leave what they do at home back home and come to work with a clear mind.
But
But
that's
we
not
need to
realistic. That's not reality. That's not
but we
reality.
need to create systems where people can debrief. We
That's
need
right.
to create forms and places where people can go for support when they are not fine, where
That's
when
right.
the burden is heavy, whether it's work, whether it's family, because the less burden anyone carries, the more there's resilience in their mind, the more there's willpower for them to draw forward. And
That's right.
that's why it's important really to look at a holistic context of a person. I'll look at just one aspect. We look so much in corporate or in life in general in personal development. Personal development has five key areas, not only areas that exist, but some of the key areas is spirituality, it's mental capacity, it's social context, it's physical context, and it's your community of people of support. So if we're going to go in life looking at personal development, that there's a spiritual aspect to it, there's a mental aspect to it, there's a social aspect to it. We'll create a culture that supports those areas, whether a person is at work or at home. It doesn't stop. There's no stopping. I don't stop being a mother the moment I'm in the
I walk
medical
out the
field.
door and into it. Right.
That's in
Absolutely.
my mind, that's in my heart.
That's
That's
right.
why there are certain triggers when I'm dealing with a child because I'm a mother, or when I'm dealing with a sister because I'm a sister. So we need to find ways where people can continuously debrief, where
That's
people
right.
can continuously and continue. If we're saying authenticity, it means I should be myself at
That's
work
right.
as a mother, fully debriefing as a mother so that I can function at work. and vice
Absolutely.
versa.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important what you're saying in so many different ways. We do talk about personal development a lot, especially in not just corporate culture and government,
Yes.
and school. We're talking about it a lot. Like I teach HR. I'm a professor at Medgar Evers College, and I teach in a public administration program. And so I have my students look at different aspects of a person. Like I make them read a book called Getting to Yes and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in reading
Wow.
those books, I help them to understand that not everyone wants the same thing. If a mother is
Hmm.
showing up, she's showing up as a mother. If a sister is showing up, she's showing up as a sister. There's certain things that I can do in that environment that we just explained that would really encourage, inspire, and motivate a mom or a sister or a son or a dad, based on their reality. And so they're bringing that whole person with them every single day. And I think that one of the other things that, my culture in particular, I'm from the South, and you're not supposed to go to a doctor, a psychiatrist, or a therapist. I don't subscribe to that. I have my standing therapy appointment at 9 a.m. every single Friday because
Hmm.
I believe that if you need a doctor, you get a doctor. If you need a pill, you take a pill, right? And it's okay not to be okay. And I think it's really
Hmm.
important when we're talking about our mental health to get folks to understand, get away from the stereotype. I remember, that stereotype when I was growing up, when that particular cousin had some mental issues, there would be, oh, that's the crazy cousin. No, that's not the crazy cousin. That's the cousin that has some particular mental issues, and we need to address those issues. And I think it's really important because, God gave us free will for a reason. And I think the decisions that we make help us to be that holistic person. And
Hmm.
we're coming with our reality. And I think one of the other things, if we're talking corporate, it's okay to say no. I
Yeah.
think a lot of times, we talked about showing up with all of these different things and not having an off button, but we can say no. We can say no to things that don't benefit us. And it
Hmm.
frees up some of our space because we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It frees up some of our space to be able to do the things that make us better people. And I think that's really
Definitely.
important when we're talking about mental wealth because those are things that we don't get back. You don't get your time
Mhm.
back. I don't care how much
Mm-mm.
money you have, you can't get that time back. And so it's important to understand that your time is really important, it's really valuable, and you should always take time for yourself.
Hmm.
Absolutely take time for yourself.
Definitely. I think one of the things also that I had seen with the culture here in South Africa, we also so big on not fully wanting to understand mental illness until it really affects our work and we no longer have an income, and then all of a sudden we want to know where the problem is. And
Mhm.
that's why I think in this context, in the South African context, it was always easier to meet people in their corporate space where they are no longer productive, where they are no longer creative, where they're no longer giving results. And then, at that point, everyone wants a solution and they want to know what's wrong.
Right.
And once that moment is open, it's so much easier to give information. It's so much easier to educate. It's so much easier even to provide therapy or counseling. I remember at one point when I started some of my counseling and therapy sessions, I call them mental wealth for your next level. And this is where we deal with what are your beliefs when you go into work. What do you believe in when it comes to your role? What are the beliefs? What is the belief system pressed on by the culture of your company? What's the belief system pressed on by the community that you come from, the church that you come from, or your faith base? And
Right.
differentiating all these things that are causing the pressure towards you or in you, and saying which one of them are valid, which one of them I need to work towards so that I meet even the things that will make me happy. And so many things really are seen then. People really find that there's so many voices they've created themselves in their minds by what community believes, by what someone else believes, yet it's no longer serving them.
That's
And you get to a point where people are so scared to go to therapy or for counseling, not because they believe it's not beneficial, but because someone in their family, someone in the work environment has labeled and stigmatized it.
That's right.
And
That's right.
they end up not going there. But when you unpack it as a form of workshop, or this is corporate wellness, that's where our people in South Africa, I think, are more open to it and more open and willing to be educated. And I think one of the tools as well is really knowing how to communicate certain messages when it comes to mental health. Hence, that's why even in writing the book, I didn't say mental health or mental illness, I said mental wealth, because all the experiences, everything that you've been through, when you steward it and work through it well, it's your wealth that will inform your next decision, will inform you wisely how to navigate life. So I think that's another tool that we need to really learn when we want to break through people's hearts, people's minds, and wanting the stigma to go away is really knowing how to communicate our words where people are going to need them and feel they resonate with what they carry or the problems they are facing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I agree with that. I think it's really important. And first of all, I want to back up. And, it's all about tools, right? I want the listeners to absolutely get the tools and the nuggets that they need to be able to function in these particular situations. If there is a situation where they're feeling overwhelmed, or they're
Yeah.
feeling the pressure, as you put it, the pressures from the different responsibilities that they are asked to take on, then they understand that there is help, right? There is assistance, that there are tools in place to get you through those things, right? And so, taking that stigma off of it, making it a corporate training, making it an opportunity at the top of the morning to communicate, your particular belief that they should have, these tools in place. Because that's the other thing, right? Sometimes employees feel like they're unable to communicate with management when they're going through some issues. And so they hide it, into the point that it is that they can no longer hide it. And that's what you really kind of indicated when you talked about the pressures and the fault, basically, right? So you're ignoring it until it can't be ignored. And so it's the big elephant in the middle of the room, and now no one can ignore it. You have to address the issue with your mental capacity, with your ability to take on your responsibility or not to take on your responsibility. And I think it's really important. I know when I have conversations with my students and I say everyone goes through depression or anxiety, and they're like
Yeah.
shocked. They stop in their steps, like, really, you, professor? And I'm like, yeah, everyone has a moment where they feel a certain way emotionally. Your emotions are your emotions, and so you own those emotions. Something that you indicated, you own those emotions, but there are also tools in place to be able to deal with whatever those emotions are. For me particularly, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I do my prayer call from 5 to 5:30. I hit the gym from 5:30 until 7, and then I start my day. But I put my mental wellness or my mental wealth and the beginning of my day,
Wow.
because I
Wow.
understand that once my day starts, it's going to be a lot of push and pull, a lot of tug, right? And so what I tell my students, I said, you have to find a thing that you can do for you, even if it's one thing in a day. You have to find that one thing that you can do. It one of the things you said just a few minutes ago, the thing that you can do to kind of take yourself in a different kind of feeling, right? So it's not fully pressure. I like the word pressure that you use. It's not fully pressure, because when you think of pressure, you think of pipes being bust, right? So if pressure busts pipes, then you can imagine what it does to an individual. And so want to talk a little bit more about those tools. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. But I want my listeners to understand that you are a holistic person, as you said. Everyone faces pressure. We want to destigmatize the care for someone that is going through some emotional turmoil. And more importantly, I want to give you the tools and tips to be able to move forward and being your authentic self. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Is so sorry.
I'm Charles Meriday, and I'm in the restaurant business. In my 20 years as a chef and restaurant owner, I've been able to work and eat in some of the great kitchens around the globe. There's a whole side of the restaurant that most people will never get to see. So now, I want to take you to the back of the house, into kitchens of some of the best chefs in the world. Along the way, I'll share some of my own tips and recipes so you can cook like a pro too. So join me in the back of the house for a whole new perspective on cooking and food. Order in. Roger. Serve it, please.
I'm glad that you came. Please.
Today we're taking a little vacation on the west end of St. Croix, visiting a seaside restaurant called the Beachside Cafe here at Sandcastles on the Beach.
The atmosphere is just wonderful.
You just feel very welcome when you're here.
Hi! I'd like to introduce Chris and Ted, who are the owners of Beachside Cafe and also Sandcastles on the Beach. This is amazing!
Thank you. Sandcastle on the Beach is quiet and friendly, relaxing.
I often entertain guests, and this is the one place I always try to bring people.
Tell us a little bit about the hotel.
Well, the hotel is a 25-room hotel. We have 10 different room types within that. We also have, of course, our greatest asset, the ocean out there, which our side of the island is very calm typically. So it's the best swimming beach and also great for snorkeling.
And just walking and doing a nice walking beach tour.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best beach access is right here, so we love them.
And we're also fortunate we have just up the way Sandy Point National Park, and then Frederickstead Town is just a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really fortunate to be in this perfect spot.
Hello. Welcome back to the Coaxum Report. You can catch us on Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku. I encourage you to download our app at our TV network. And I have the pleasure and the honor to be speaking with Dr. Sam Zungu Fidelis. Dr. Sam.
Yes.
He's in South Africa right now. Actually, we're like 6 hours apart, and she thought it was really important to be on the show today to talk about mental wealth. And so before we took a break, Dr. Sam and I were talking about some tools and tips for better mental wealth. We also talked about some of the stigma wrapped around mental wealth. And more importantly, we talked about showing up as your authentic self. And so, it's really been a pleasure to kind of, really talk to Dr. Sam, who's also a motivational speaker and an author. And it's just been a real pleasure talking to her today about some of the testimonies and experiences of some of her clients, and how she's able to kind of help them pivot, especially now, after the pandemic. A lot of things have changed, and a lot of people have experienced even more pressure, even more stress. And so, understanding that you're not on an island, you're not in a river in Egypt, so don't be in denial. You are in a place where there's some tools and tips to help you get to that next level. And so I want to open the floor back up for Dr. Sam to talk a little bit more about her experiences around mental wealth, and then we want to kind of dig in a little deeper so that we are offering additional tools to our listeners. And Dr. Sam, I don't know if you're aware, but our audience is throughout the Caribbean and Southeast Asia, and of course here in the United States. And so we have an audience around the world listening to some of these tools and tips. And so it's important for us to not just talk about the barriers. So we know the barriers, we talked about the barriers, but some of the best practices. What are some of the best things that you've done or you've seen in your experience, that are helping us get over this hurdle that is our mental wealth? And what are some of the big ideas? Like, what are some of the things that you'd like to see implemented in workspaces or in homes, so that individuals are able to work through some of the hurdles in our lives as it relates to our mental being?
Yeah, I think one of the big ideas, or an idea when it comes to mental health or mental wealth, is to really understand the simplest form of it, which has to do with our thinking, our emotions, and our behavior. And when you look at mental health and mental wealth, it's the state of your thought process, it's the state of your emotions, the state of your behavior. So if you're going to be using tools each and every day or setting routines for each and every day, what will the state of your mind look like if you woke up in the morning and listen to something motivational, whether spiritually, whether reading something, whether waking up in the morning?
That's
But you
right.
need to have the mindset that really you want a state of mind where no one can easily get a reactive response from you, but you can proactively be the one that decides when you get into situations or conflicts, that you can reason and not react.
That's
So
right.
when you're waking up in the morning, the first thing you need to do, what are you reading? If you're a spiritual person, listen to some music, read something that will really keep your mind strengthened and keep your mind resilient. Emotional aspect, what are the emotional things that you need to deal with? And some of the tools really is to learn how to manage your anger before you even get to a point of anger. How do you manage anger? How do you manage conflict? How do you manage all these things? So anger management, you need to know what to do. You need to think before you act. You need to really think through what someone has thought, what got that person to this point, and what got you to that point. Always think with the mind before you can think with your heart. And that's always a safer space. Learn to be proactive rather than reactive. So once you have a clear mind, like how you said, you start your day at 5 and you do this. So already you setting the tone for your own day, so that when someone else comes, already there's strength, there's resilience, there's preparation that you've done to withhold or to stand or to have capacity to carry what is going to come that you don't know, to carry the conflict that you might not even know exists, or sometimes you know exists. And what are the things, what in behavior, in acting, what are the activities that will make your brain healthy?
That's right.
Running, jogging, yoga. Those are all the things that we do that sends the correct neuroreceptors, the hormones to your brain, so that you feel replenished, so that you have energy, so that you can sustain the whole day and you're not tired. So it's really, the tools are packed in the daily activities that you are doing. So once you set the day, and another important thing as part of our tools, once your morning is not good enough, the whole day is not written off. You can also divide your day in three equal parts. You've got the morning, you've got the midday, you've got the afternoon. So you can have some wins within your day that keep you resilient, that keep you going. But when we're going to
I
say a
like
whole
that.
day is one day, then you're
I
going to
like
feel as
that.
if you've lost already.
I
So
like that.
the,
I want to pause. I want to pause there for a minute. A
yeah,
couple things. Like you gave a lot of great nuggets, and
yes,
I don't want to. I don't want to gloss over them. I want to go back to the state, right?
yes.
So the state of your mental, right? The state of your well being, learning how the tools that you need to be able to regulate your state of mind. So
Yes.
the anger management tools, we talked about it's okay to not be okay, right? Well, and then you started talking about some really interesting concepts, which is that dividing your day into three equal parts. Now,
Mm.
that's the first
Yeah.
time I've heard it placed that way because what I do is I tell my clients to start over, start their day over. So
Yeah, that's a good
we
one
just
as well.
yeah. So one of the things and I'll give you yesterday just as an example because when you said it, it just went off in my head like ding, 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 right?
Mm,
So you do set the tone for your day, right?
mm,
Every we and if we don't set the tone for our day, someone will. Like that's just like me telling my students. I tell them all the time. I said, listen, I need you to be involved in activities throughout your community because
mm.
if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. It's not like no
Mm.
one's not making decisions. Decisions are still being made
Wow.
for you. You're just on the menu and not at the table, right? So the same
Mm,
thing when I'm thinking about setting the tone for your day. We
mm.
talked about you having the ability to control your mind, right? So if you don't set your tone for your day, who will? Right?
Somebody else will.
So exactly. And so they get to yank your chain all through the day in
Mm,
those three equal parts
mm,
and probably not equally yanked, right? But if you set the tone for your day, and I give yesterday as an example, which is really funny because as soon as you said it, Dr. Sam, the bells went off on my head. So
mm,
yesterday, like I said, I wake up, I do my meditation, I go work out, I have a 4 year, I dropped off the baby, I have custody of, I drop the baby off, and then I come in, I start my day yesterday. Some students at Empower Charter School decided they would do a walkout against gun violence, and so as a community activist, an advocate, I participated in this walkout with these students, and so it was very emotional. We did the walkout, and so I came back and I went to get my coffee. I do my 1 cup of black coffee every day, and that's my little kick, right? And I go and I look for my wallet and it's not
mm.
there. Now, I told you already, I start my day in peace. I literally empty myself of me and fill myself up with God. I That's my day. And so
Yeah.
whatever happens, everything happens in this season. So, and there are days that you get your chain yanked and you don't put your three equal parts, right? But yesterday wasn't the day. And so when
Mm,
I saw my wallet was missing, and the first thing in me was panic, right? It was like, oh my God, my wallet or my credit cards, my money, my whatever, whatever. And I was like, nah, I didn't lose my wallet. It may
mm,
be misplaced at the moment, but it's not lost. And so I
mm,
went throughout the whole, okay, so where'd you last see it kind of thing in my mind. So it just so happens my wallet was in my office. I left the wallet in my office. The thing was, when I went to get my coffee, I have an app. You know how you put all these apps on your phone? So I remember reaching to get the cash, but the guy at the desk was like, oh, it's already on your app. It's already covered. So
wow.
me thinking I went in my wallet, I didn't go in my wallet. I went to reach for my wallet. But
Yeah.
because the day was moving so quickly, now my wallet was never missing. But the thing that I want to get to is that I seen a time where I would have hit the roof. It would have been like my wallet, life is over, whatever, right?
Mm,
Whatever that
mm.
was in that
Yeah.
experience for me. But yesterday wasn't that day. There was so much calm and so much peace that I almost scared myself. I literally had to go, wait, what?
Is this for
Retrace
real?
your steps, which is what I did. And then I
Mm,
got to the point where I called my daughter. I said, look in the office. She's like, oh, your wallet's sitting right here on the desk. I said, okay. And then I
mm.
got my coffee and I came upstairs and, did whatever. But I say that to you is I set the tone for yesterday.
Yeah.
And I realized that no matter who's trying to yank my chain mentally, physically, and emotionally, I decide whether they get to yank my chain or not. And so what
Yeah.
I'm saying to the listeners today is you make a decision that that's not going to be your reality.
Yes.
And that is how we change our pivot. And so this mental wealth piece is so important because, as you know, Dr. Sam, if you're in a moment, it's very hard for you to be productive.
Mm. Mm.
But if you decide, as you said, to separate your day into three equal parts, then that morning you can begin again in that afternoon. And that afternoon you can begin again in that midday or
Yeah.
that night, right? And I think it's
Yeah.
really important for our listeners to understand these important nuggets that you're giving them right now. Because
Mm.
no day is the same. Everything is going to be different. Nothing
Definitely.
stays the same. Everything changes, right? And so Dr. Sam is giving you mental wealth, which means now you can use that wisdom and that knowledge to continue to build wealth. Because
Yes.
that's what it
Yes.
really is about. There is no poverty mindset here. She's saying to you,
Mm.
you have everything you need to do what you need to
Definitely.
do to get it done emotionally, physically,
Mentally.
and mentally.
Mm.
Absolutely. So this is good stuff.
I'm glad you're excited.
I'm super excited about it. And now I want you to talk a little bit more about these tools, and then tell us where we can get this second rendition of the book. I know that when we started talking about it, you told us that there was going to be a second part where you're going to be including some more testimonials about mental
Mm.
wealth. But I want our listeners to know where that book is going to be located at, so they can go in and get it. And if they want to get the first copy, of course, they can go onto the author's portal that I went into
Yes.
and was able to get that book as
Yes.
well.
Yes. The second edition of the book will be available as of next month, end of next month, the
Okay.
30th of November. It will
Okay.
be on Amazon, and yeah, everyone
Okay.
can get it on
Awesome. Awesome.
Amazon.
Awesome.
Mhm.
So it'll be an Amazon platform that we can actually
Yes.
go in and get a copy. Will you
Yes.
also have an audible copy of it or a
Yes.
ebook?
We
Okay,
will,
awesome.
but
You'll
that
be
will
able to
come, I think, a month later. But we will
Okay.
first release the book on Amazon, and then we'll have the audio. And once the audio is also available, we're also actually going to have a workbook where people can follow through and reflect through and see their own tools and use them
Awesome.
as
Awesome.
it would help them in their own
On their own
environment or
journey.
space.
In their own
Yep.
journey. In their own
Yep.
journey. And I think it's really important. And I'm glad you said that, Dr. Sam. So I need the listener audience to understand this is not a novel. This
Yes.
is a book that you're going to use. You're going to, so to speak, you're going to reflect, you're going to study, you're going to journal, you're going to
Yes.
meditate, you're going to
Mm.
use the tips and tools that Dr. Sam is giving you to encourage your mental wealth. You already have what
Yes.
you need inside of you, right? But
Yes.
she's giving you the tools and tips to encourage it, to inspire it, to motivate it, and to push your wisdom forward so that you're able to build and to grow throughout all of your journeys. And I think that's really, really, really important. Sometimes we pick up a book and we want to read straight through and get to the whatever we think is going to be in a conclusion. But this book is not that book.
That's
It's not a book of
definitely
conclusions.
not that book.
You're making your own conclusions based on the tools and the tips that Dr. Sam is going to be giving you. So it's important
Yes.
to understand that. And so the workbook will help them, reflect. It will also give them some more tools and tips that they'll need to move forward on this journey. And this is all a
Mm.
journey, guys. I mean,
Wow.
we talk about it each week on a Coaxum Report. Every one of our testimonies are significant. Every one of our stories are helping that next person get over that
Mm.
hurdle because none of us are living in denial. None of us are by ourselves on this island. We're all, really connected to someone else in a significant way. And so
Mm.
it's really important to have this mental peace that you need to be able to pivot. So thank
Mm.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Definitely.
you. So any other tips and tools we wanna talk to our listening audience about, Dr. Sam? Anything that comes to mind? Because you have a lot of testimonies. You gave us a few of the nuggets ahead, but what are some of the things
Yes.
that your clients have found? We talked about a little bit of the best practices, but what are some of the big ideas that come
I
to
think
mind for you, especially in South Africa, either corporate or in government that we
yes.
can offer our clients?
So I think mental wealth could be used as a tool individually and also could be used in organizations. So whether it's church, whether it's corporate, whether it's government. And I've really seen that in South Africa when I do workshops or the foundation does workshops and they make it part of their culture. Like how they make culture occupational health and safety.
Hmm.
So part of it being used, mental wealth when you enter into a workplace, mental wealth when you enter into a university for students, what's the capacity that's required, what are the tools that will help you succeed. I've really seen that in our South African context, it's really helped people in a collective way. And it's really sparked conversations where people are now also just creating their own tools. People really write good testimonials where they say, from reading the book or from the workshops and the tools you gave us, we really started creating our own way because the resources that you spoke about are not readily available when we go back home from varsity or when we go back home from the city. So I think what really is the big idea with the mental wealth workshops or next level or master classes is that you can create your own path. You can really find what will work with you and what speaks for you, what will motivate you, what will drive you. It also speaks to the tribe and community of people that you will form around you that will support the decisions that you're making to be the change as you help others change as well. So there's so many testimonials, there's so many ways that this workbook and book and reflection from the book is really being used in our country. I've seen churches who really now trying to identify how to incorporate to help people with mental illness or to incorporate how to work to help people with burnout, to help people with gender-based violence. I mean, gender-based violence was really not one of the things that I could say I was advocating for, but it's really opened such a big door where people say, this is also helping people to really understand gender-based violence, given the mental state and how the mind informs what we do and how past experiences and traumas also inform what we do and build a certain type of culture. So I could really go on. It could be used in any environment, in any organization, and it really
Right.
is a tool. I remember from the video and the clip, I said, it's really me just saying, how can I be of service? How can I help you look inward so you realize the wealth that you already possess, that the
That's right.
world is
For you.
waiting for to be the change in this world that we're living in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's really important, that we are highlighting this at this moment in time. One thing, and I'll go back to this with, and I say this all the time on the show, with obstacles or opportunities, right? And
Mm,
so the health crisis really offered a lot of obstacles, but
yeah.
also highlighted a lot of opportunities. It
Mm,
it made the world look at the inequities in our Black and Brown
mm,
communities
yes.
and things that weren't readily available to us are
Mm,
now available to us. And so it's now an opportunity for us to stand up and stand out and
mm,
for our voices to be heard on so many different levels. And I think that's
mm,
why mental health needs to be addressed now, because I'm going to go back to, it's okay to not be okay.
mm,
So
mm,
many times that we had to be the strong one. We had to endure all of the trauma and
mm,
everything that came our way as head of household, as single moms, as as single dads, as the head of household, as a dad, like whatever that was, whatever your reality is in your life and your family situation, we had to
mm.
endure a lot of quote unquote pressures. I like the word pressures because, again, every time I think pressure, I think about pipes bursting,
Yes.
right? So I think about all of this bottled up, emotions. It's not always anger. Sometimes it's just emotions. It's
Mm,
insecurity. It's hurt. It's pain. It's just a whole bunch of bottled up emotions and the pressure of those emotions bursting. Right. And so
mm,
your book offers some tips and tools before we get to that falling point. I know we talked early on about not being able to ignore that big pink elephant in the room. So sometimes in corporate America, one of the things that you said that kind of stuck out is that you were told to leave the office, leave home at home and when you come to the office,
mm,
you were supposed to show up as that office person. And we both
mm,
know that's not reality. You know what I'm saying? And we also know, and we talked about this, integration is important. It's not about
mm,
balance. Because I have a 4-year-old, and if something happens with that 4-year-old, whatever that day is planned out, it now drops. It's all about making sure that 4-year-old is going to be healthy, right?
mm,
Then we can get back to that other stuff that we're supposed to take care of.
mm,
The same thing with an office deadline. If I have a client and there's a deadline, all my energies are on that deadline. So it's not about balance. You don't do a family life. It's an integration. You're integrating in your life all of the quote unquote pressures, and we
Mm,
need the tips and the tools to be able to work through. And so we talked about your book, Mental Wealth, and having an opportunity to go through the workbook, having an opportunity to read the book, right? To go through the lessons and the tools and the tips and the nuggets, right? Looking at the workbook, working through the workbook, some of whatever these pressures are, and
mm,
coming to whatever the different concessions that you're giving, so that folks can kind of really understand how to work through whatever those emotions are. And then
mm,
more importantly, at the end of it, being able to share this with family.
mm,
Because everything that we do, again, we're not on an island. So my beliefs, my beliefs that hold me back, or my beliefs that pull me forward, those are all things that are going to impact my family.
yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the parent, right? So my children are looking at everything that I'm going through and how I'm handling,
Mm,
right? As a dad, your sons and your daughters and your wife is looking at
yep.
everything that you're doing and how to handle it. And so that's why it's really, really important to get a grip on our mental health, to
Mm,
ensure that we are pivoting it into mental wealth.
yep.
Because at the end of the day, if we don't control our mind, then all of our circumstances and our situations are for naught. And so it's
Mm,
really important for us to really think about this in a deeper sense, with all of the opportunities that are now placed before us. One of the things, Dr. Sam, that you talked about being able to do is these workshops. And so you said that you have a foundation. So the foundation, talk to us a little bit about this foundation so that my listening audience will know how to find you later on, to be able to get more tips, tools, and nuggets to be able to pivot to that next level.
Okay, so the foundation has a website, www.mentalwealthfoundation.com. And if ever you need some information, it's there. If you need some more, you can send us a message and we can respond right through. So the foundation really is focused at training, educating, informing, and in workshopping people across different organizations, churches, schools, so that within our South African context and African context, which has now grown globally, we train people to identify mental health challenges, know how to counsel people with mental health challenges, teach and workshop people on how to manage anger, anxiety, trauma. And we're hoping to build centers where, at least in each organization, we've trained at least 3 people who will help people journey through their mental health journey specifically. So we do this on a global scale. We do this virtually. We do this by going to organizations and churches and schools. And we're just ensuring that no one really is left unheard, unseen, not understood, because some of the things that make the stigma big or make us not know how to reach out to one another is the lack of information, lack of
Right,
training, lack of knowing how to even address someone who's going through those things.
right.
Someone might share with you that they've got abuse at home, but you don't know what to do because no one has taught you, no one has informed you. So, at a global scale, really, across our continent, we really want people to know more about what is it, how do you manage it, and how do you help people. So through the foundation, that's the work I'm doing. And that's the work we're doing globally as well. And then all the information is also there. And I think also the big part is really how we communicate with people. I said that in the beginning. When people understand the importance of a thing, they really value the essence of it. So one of our workshops really focuses on trauma. And when we look at trauma, we say trauma affects the brain centers which deals with your thinking, your memory, your creativity, your emotions, your behavior. So if you know these things that trauma affects, you'd approach traumatic events differently. You'd want
Absolutely.
to know how to manage trauma, how to minimize it, because sometimes you can never really fully run away with it, and how really to thrive in the midst of trauma. So, really, communication and the words we use when we're teaching and informing is really important so that it resonates with people. People understand, they connect with it, and they really want to change their lives from the information they know. And
Absolutely.
I've seen that the way we communicate it really starts making people want to know. It makes people invite us to say, please bring your organization so that we learn more, so that there's a collective way where counseling can even happen. Remember, some people are really scared to just share everything about themselves, but when it's done in a group setting, within their community, within their churches, within their schools, even for children, it becomes better, and you really touch a lot of people by doing that. So
Oh
our
my
focus
God.
is
Yes,
that.
yes, yes, yes. This is such a great tool. www.mentalwealth
Of
um,
foundation.com.
foundation.com. So please
Mhm.
make sure that you go and look up the information. Time has, has run out for us on this show. Oh my God, it's amazing. It's really when you're getting so much information and you're able to share so much of the nuggets and the tools and the tips to deal with mental health, to deal with
Mm,
to grow it, to build it into mental wealth. It's really important. And so
yeah.
I thank you so much, Dr. Sam, for being a part of this show. And I am definitely going to welcome you back so you can
Yes.
share more of the nuggets and the tips with my listening audience. And I thank everyone else for being a part of the Coaxum Report today. Remember, www. Go ahead, Sam. Dr. Sam, www.mentalwealthfoundation.com
Mentalwealthfoundation.com.
is where you
Yeah.
can get more information. So thank you so much for being a part of the show today. And I look forward to seeing you again. And thanks for
Thank you
tuning
so
in to
much.
South Africa. Have a beautiful day on purpose. Take care and be blessed.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.